You call this service? A tall, impatient customer slammed his hand on the counter, glaring at the young cashier. I'm sorry, sir. I'll fix it right away, the woman behind the register said calmly. She wore a standard cashier's uniform, red polo shirt, black slacks, and a name tag that simply read, Lisa. The supervisor, a stocky man named Greg, stormed over. Lisa, what the hell is taking so long? He barked, his voice loud enough to turn heads in the grocery store. Lisa kept her expression neutral. There's a system glitch. I don't care about your excuses, Greg snapped. Speed it up or get out. Customers exchanged awkward glances as Lisa took a deep breath. She had expected resistance, but Greg's behavior was worse than she had imagined. Little did he know, this cashier was actually the owner of the entire grocery chain, and she was here for a reason. Lisa clenched her jaw but remained composed. Understood, sir, she said, scanning the items faster. Greg sneered. Finally, some obedience. A teenage cashier named Mia flinched at his words. Lisa had noticed earlier how Mia had been trembling whenever Greg passed by. Sir, I need my paycheck from last week, Mia said hesitantly. It was short by almost $50. Greg scoffed. And? You should be grateful you even have a job. Lisa's fingers curled into a fist under the counter. This was exactly why she had come undercover, to see firsthand how employees were treated. That doesn't seem fair, Lisa said, tilting her head. Shouldn't she be paid what she earned? Greg turned to her with a glare. Are you questioning my management? You're just a low-level cashier. Maybe I should dock your pay too. Lisa kept her face neutral, but inside she was seething. This man had no idea who he was talking to, but he would soon find out. Lisa watched as Greg continued his tirade, belittling the staff and treating customers with thinly veiled disdain. Her patience was running out, but she knew she had to see just how far this corruption went. A frail, elderly woman approached the counter, placing a few items on the belt. Excuse me, young man, she said kindly. I believe there was a discount on this cereal. Greg rolled his eyes. No discounts, unless I say so. Pay full price, or leave. Lisa clenched her jaw. Enough was enough. She stepped out from behind the counter. That's not how we treat customers here. Greg turned sharply. What did you just say? Lisa met his glare head-on. I said, that's not how we treat customers. This store has policies, and overcharging customers isn't one of them. Greg sneered. You don't make the rules. You're just a cashier. Lisa's lips curled into a knowing smile. Is that so? The moment of truth was approaching, and Greg was about to find out exactly who he had been disrespecting. The tension in the store thickened. Greg folded his arms, looking at Lisa with contempt. Oh, so now the new cashier thinks she's in charge? He mocked. Listen, sweetheart, if you don't like how I run things, you can clock out and never come back. Lisa let out a slow breath, keeping her composure. Greg, do you even hear yourself? This woman is a customer. She deserves respect. And from what I've seen, you don't just mistreat customers. You bully your own staff too. Greg scoffed. And what are you going to do about it? He laughed. File a complaint? Go ahead. I've been here for years. The boss trusts me, not some rookie cashier. Lisa smirked. You're right about one thing, Greg. The boss does have a lot of trust in someone here, but it's not you. Greg frowned, his arrogance faltering for the first time. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Lisa took a step closer, lowering her voice just enough to draw everyone in. It means I'm not just a cashier. Greg blinked, momentarily speechless. The employees who had been watching from the sidelines straightened up, whispering among themselves. I don't have to file a complaint, Greg, Lisa continued, because I own this store. The room fell into stunned silence. Greg's face twisted in disbelief. What? That's a joke, right? You own this store? Lisa's expression didn't change. That's right. And now, I'd like to have a word with you about your future here. The color drained from Greg's face. He suddenly didn't look so confident anymore. Greg let out a forced laugh, shaking his head. This has to be a joke. You? The owner? That's impossible. Lisa crossed her arms, unfazed. Why? Because I wore a cashier's uniform. Because I worked alongside your team instead of barking orders. The employees and customers around them whispered among themselves, their eyes shifting between Lisa and Greg. Prove it, Greg snapped, his face red with frustration. You expect me to believe that you, some random woman, own this entire store? Lisa sighed and reached into her pocket, pulling out a sleek black card. She handed it to one of the senior employees, a woman named Rachel, who had been silently observing. Rachel's eyes widened as she read the name. Lisa Carter, owner and CEO, Carter Retail Enterprises. Gasps echoed throughout the store. Rachel turned to Greg, her voice trembling. She's telling the truth. Greg stumbled back. This can't be real. Lisa took a step closer, her voice calm yet firm. Oh, it's very real, Greg. And now, let's talk about your future here. Or, rather, the lack of it. Greg's face turned pale. His usual arrogant demeanor cracked as reality hit him. Wait, Lisa. We can talk about this, he stammered, his voice suddenly lacking its usual confidence. Lisa didn't flinch. She took a deep breath, gathering herself before speaking. Oh, now you want to talk? You had plenty of chances to talk, to treat your employees with respect, to show kindness to customers, to run this store properly. But instead, you chose to humiliate, steal, and exploit. The employees stood frozen, their eyes glued to the confrontation. Some of them exchanged glances, as if silently hoping for justice. Lisa turned to Rachel. Can you pull up the latest financial reports for this location? Rachel nodded and rushed to the manager's office. Greg swallowed hard. Listen, Lisa, I just got a little carried away sometimes. You know how stressful this job can be. Lisa arched an eyebrow. Stressful? You mean stealing from the register and underpaying employees? Or maybe you mean threatening to fire single mothers for taking time off to care for their kids? Which part was stressful for you, Greg? He opened his mouth to argue, but Rachel returned, holding a stack of papers. Here it is, just as we suspected. He's been skimming money from the store's earnings. It's all here. False invoices, missing funds, and look at these employee complaints. Lisa flipped through the pages and shook her head. Unbelievable. The tension in the store was suffocating. Customers whispered. Employees watched with anticipation. And Greg was sweating. Lisa met his eyes. You're fired. Effective immediately. Greg's face twisted in shock. What? You can't do that. Lisa smirked. Oh, but I can. And I just did. Greg's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. He looked around, searching for sympathy. But the employees and customers only stared, some even smirking at his downfall. You can't just fire me on the spot, he sputtered. Lisa crossed her arms. I can, and I have. Security will escort you out. Oh, and don't bother trying to manipulate corporate. I am corporate. 2 security guards stepped forward. Greg turned red with fury, but knew he had no way out. He scoffed, yanking off his name badge and throwing it on the floor, before storming toward the exit. As he passed Rachel, he hissed, "This is your fault." Rachel lifted her chin. "No, Greg, this is your fault." The door swung shut behind him, and the store erupted into cheers. Employees clapped, and even customers gave approving nods. Lisa turned to her team. This store is nothing without its employees, and you all deserve better. Starting today, I'm making changes. Fair wages, proper scheduling, and a management team that actually respects you." Rachel beamed. "Thank you, Lisa. This means everything." Lisa smiled. "You earned it. And Rachel, if you're interested, I need a new store manager." Rachel's eyes widened. "Me? You've already been running this place better than Greg ever did," Lisa said. "What do you say?" Tears welled up in Rachel's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, I'd love that." Lisa turned to the staff. "Let's rebuild this store together. No more corruption, no more mistreatment. Just a business where people feel valued." The employees clapped again, and for the first time in a long while, hope filled the air. Lisa took one last look at the store, proud of what had just happened. She had come in undercover, but she was leaving as a leader. And this was just the beginning.